What's going on, everybody? Hey, Cowboys win. Dak signs. Good day. Let's talk about it.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take Cowboys.
Throws back of the end zone. There's
What's going on, everybody? Cowboys C3 here. Dominant performance today. Cowboys win 33-17. Big news today before the game, and we'll just get this out of the way right now. Dak Prescott signs a contract 4 years, $240 million, $230 million guaranteed. That's $60 million a year. What does that mean? Well, you got a quarterback for the next 4 years. Some people are fans of it, some people are not, and that's understandable. The talk is always going to be about, now you're making this kind of money. What are you going to do? What are the pressures? The expectations are super, super focused now. You're going to have to do more. Well, I kind of disagree. The pressure has always been on him. He's always been the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. That's always been the case. His expectation has always been to win. But we've talked about this on here more than once. There are more things that have to take place in order for the Dallas Cowboys to win Super Bowls. Regular season victories are fine, right? Dak is excellent at that. It seems like once you get to January and beyond, and we've talked about it before, you stop playing checkers and you start playing chess, that's when the Cowboys seem to falter. Dak gives you the best opportunity to hide your deficiencies within your organization. That's why they signed him. Another thing, if you don't sign him now, because I still think that no matter what, if the regular season starts, which it started today, regular season starts, you're not going to get him. You're not going to get him into any kind of contract negotiations throughout the season. Like, it's not going to be him. You may speak to his agent, right? But you're not going to speak to him. And your contract negotiations are going to go down, or they're going to be limited, because he is going to be focused on the season. Then you go into the off season, and what that does is you go into the off season. Now you give 31 other teams an opportunity to court him, right? And give him an opportunity to see something different. Like, yeah, let's just take for example, let's just say it's the Raiders. And they say, hey, not only will we pay you $60 million, we'll pay you $65 million, and we'll give you a percentage of the ownership in Vegas with the A's that are coming in next year. Right? And there's certain things that Jerry is not going to be able to compete with, because he's not going to have the money to compete. Sure, Jerry has the money to compete with it. Jerry has the most expensive, the sports franchise that's worth the most in the world. But you're not trying to pay $68 million for a quarterback. You're not trying to do that. So let's just get it out of the way now. 60 is going to be the standard. How soon we forget that Dak was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL when he made $40 million. This number just keeps going up and up and up. Like, 60 million. Dak's not worth 60 million. Yes, Dak is worth 60 million. That's the market. That's what the market is. The next quarterback is signed for 65. Pretty soon you're going to be a $75 million quarterback a year. That's where it's going. That's where it's headed. Right now, to be competitive in the market, I'm pretty sure that Dak and his people told him, like, hey, man, this is what you need to pay me to be competitive. Because if this would have gotten into free agency it was going to go up to 65. And it was going to be, we'll give you a little ownership of a baseball team. Or, hey, we'll give you this. Or, hey, we'll give you that. And it's just certain things that the Cowboys weren't interested in doing. I wouldn't have been interested in starting over. You got a high-valued wide receiver that you're going to have to get the ball to, and he did an excellent job getting him the ball today. You've got these things that you're not willing to start over with, right? And your quarterback is one of them. And one of the main things about playing quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and it's been everybody in the past, most recently Tony Romo, is you have to deal with the pressure of being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. You have to deal with that pressure. Joe Burrow ain't got to deal with that pressure in Cincinnati. He don't have to deal with that. He can go out and lose to New England today and throw for 158 yards, which he did. And the media they still gonna love him. It's Cincinnati, right? They're just happy to have a good quarterback. There's no way that you come into Dallas today and lay an egg and take the scrutiny that you will take. I mean, the scrutiny is going to be after this game too. Like, he only threw for 175 yards, right? But you won 33-17. Dak has mastered this offense. He knows what to do in it. He comes out. He plays complementary football. He knows how to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. And when you play like that, they went against the number one defense in the NFL last year today, which they haven't lost anybody. If anything, they got better through free agency, and they looked pretty good, right? So, yes, Dak signed for $60 million today. I think the biggest surprise with the whole contract thing was the guaranteed money. $230 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So the expectations are going to be to win, but it's not going to be any different, right, than the expectations that are always on the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks for the last 30 years. It's not going to be any different. You're going to be expected to win, right? And if you come in and you win and you get to the postseason, and I told you, when you get into the postseason, they take that checkerboard away from you and they start playing chess, right? It is going to take more than your quarterback to get you to the Super Bowl, period. It's just what it is. You look at all these quarterbacks right now that are good in the NFL, they have head coaches, coaching staffs, everything is catered for them to win. Jared Goff, catered for him to win. Josh Allen, catered for him to win. Justin Herbert, I just don't see all the hype behind Justin Herbert, but hey, whatever. They went and got Harbaugh, so it could be catered for him to win. And they played well today, by the way. Joe Burrow, catered for him to win. Laid an egg today, but it's still, they'll be fine throughout the season. Dak gives you the capability of hiding your lack of coaching staff, your lack of everything that is crazy about your organization, because that's the way your owner likes it, right? That is exactly what Dak gives you. He gives you that opportunity to kind of cover up all that stuff, and at least until January. That's what it does. No matter what, in January, that checkerboard is getting kicked under the table. It's time to play chess, and the Cowboys haven't had a good chess player since Jimmy Johnson. Sports T, D. Will, how y'all doing? Thanks for stopping by. All right, today, Cowboys win 33-17. It started off kind of bad. Cowboys got the opening kickoff and got a holding call on Tolbert, like on the first play of the game, and then it went bad. Dak took a big hit on that drive, and I'm like, man, $60 million, you can't be taking no hits like that. Got a little concerning, but you begin to see after the first drive of the game that this defense was going to be able to hold. And to be honest, it was very, very refreshing to see the Cowboys on the first drive stop the run. They stopped the run. Yes, I'm reading the comments. They stopped the run. And as a Cowboy fan for my entire life, and especially dealing with the Cowboys for the last 10 years, right? You're like, okay, we don't stop the run consistently in football games. We just don't do it, right? Well, Cowboys came out in the second drive, looked very efficient. You could tell right away that Tyler Guyton was going to have his hands full with Myles Garrett. I mean, we all knew that. Rookie left tackle, they were going to camp Myles Garrett over the top of him and just let's check this out and let's just see how he does. And he struggled at first. But the Cowboys went down. Dak was very efficient in the second drive, threw an absolute dart to CeeDee Lamb down the right sideline for I think like 27 yards. And then he came back and hit Brandon Cooks just on an excellent timing route with the blitz in his face. Does it? Cowboys go up 7-0. Parsons in that second drive for Cleveland started to exert his dominance. You could kind of tell that he was going to have a big game after that second drive. He got a quarterback pressure, and then he got a sack to end the drive. And it was just like you got your two tackles out. Parsons is lining up on the left defensive end and right defensive end. They were lining him up in the middle. They were just moving him all around the defensive line. And then later on in the game, he started lining up in the A-gap, and then he backed off into coverage. Like, it was just very confusing for Deshaun Watson. You could tell he was kind of rattled by it. Cleveland kept trying to answer with the run because that's how you beat the Cowboys. You run the ball up the middle on them. But, I mean, you even saw some Mozzie Smith sightings. And, I mean, early in the game, Mozzie Smith was kind of asserting his dominance in the middle as well. Excellent job. Cowboys get the ball back. Cleveland goes 3 and out. Cowboys get the ball back. Excellent mix of run in the pass. Then came out with Zeke scores a 2-yard run. That's what you signed Zeke for. He ended the game today with 10 carries for 40 yards, which is 4 yards a carry, which is not bad. And I really don't think he should be the feature back for the offense still. But he ran the ball effectively. And I think that's all you could ask for today against Cleveland. This was the number one defense in the NFL last year. They stopped the pass well, and they also are excellent against the run. That pass rush is tremendous, and you did a good job at the beginning of the game to try to counter that pass rush and not let them just pin their ears back and get after Dak, especially after that first hit that he took. Zeke scores. Defense holds them to a 3 and out again. Cowboys go down the field, kick the 57-yard field goal by Brandon Aubrey. On the very next drive, Micah Parsons tips a pass, and Eric Kendricks picks it off. And it's like this defense is rolling. And I started getting messages on my phone, man, this defense is rolling, it's cooking, it's doing everything right. But I'm also a realistic Cowboy fan, and I'm like, look, man, this is the first half. Just relax. Let's see what happens. They've played well. They played halves good before, right? And it's just faltered towards the end of the half, especially going into the second half. Secondary was holding up well. Donovan Wilson was coming up making big hits, especially on David Njoku. He was hitting David Njoku in the first half, and Njoku ended up going out in the second half with an injury. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now, the most disappointing thing to me in the first half was, and it's not even the fact that the missed field goal, well, actually the made field goal happened. Brandon Aubrey lines up for a 66-yard field goal to tie the NFL record, and he makes the kick, right? But there's a delay of game penalty. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was on the first 2 or 3 podcasts that I released. This is what I'm talking about poor clock management. Mike McCarthy, to this point, had called a pretty good game, mixing the run and the pass well. Offense was pretty efficient. You had built the lead, right? But then you come down to this field goal. And what they did to even kick the field goal was pretty tremendous. And it was smart. It was one of the smartest things I've seen the Cowboys do in a while. On third down, they stopped Cleveland. They called a timeout just to get some time because the way the field was set up, right, you were going to get a punt. You were going to get that punt, close to the 50-yard line. Anything inside of the 50-yard line for Brandon Aubrey seems to be not automatic, but he has a pretty good opportunity to make it. Dak throws a pass on the sideline to Jalen Tolbert for about 12 yards and gives them an opportunity at this 66-yard field goal. So up to this point, you have done everything well, right? You get everything lined up, and the head coach is sitting there with one timeout just sitting in his pocket, and the referee sitting right there by you, and you don't call a timeout, and you take that opportunity away. These are points on the board. These are the things that when I start talking about the checkerboard and the chessboard, like McCarthy is not a good chess player. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. This is when you have to say, hey, looking at the play clock, we're down to 2. I need to call this timeout to legitimately give my kicker a chance to make this field goal. Delay a game. He kicks the field goal anyway and hits the damn net again. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. And then everybody's like, oh, just let him line up for the 71-yard field goal. Man, they got a returner back there, and you don't have nothing but big people lined up on the field goal protection team. You don't give him that opportunity because if he's short on 71, which Brandon Aubrey is human, he's probably going to be short on 71, right? Then he has an opportunity to return that kick, and then the whole momentum of the game is just all flipped around. And that's not what you want, right? That's not what you want at all. They come out in the second half, though. Defense forced a 3-and-out to begin the second half. I really wanted to see how they would respond right after halftime. Let Cleveland make their adjustments. Let's see how the defense responds, and they responded tremendously. Turpin returns a 60-yard punt for a touchdown. Cleveland has a 13-play drive on the next drive, capped off by a 3-yard touchdown to Jerry Jeudy, which, and I think that made the score. I want to say it made it 27-10 or maybe 26-10. It looked like Cleveland may have some momentum. And that's when I started to worry, like, hey, man, here we go with this again. Like, we always play good for a half of a football game. You play good in the first half, you don't play well in the second half. You play well, you play bad in the first half, you come out in the second half and you start to build momentum and you start to get the score maybe a little bit closer, or maybe you tie the game up, or maybe take a 3-point lead and then you falter at the end. And I was just kind of looking, I was just, that's always going to be in the back of your head, especially as a Cowboy fan. Like, it just is, especially the way things went last season, especially how they went in the playoff game. You kind of have these doubts. Cowboys come out, stall, go 3-and-out and punt. D steps it up, forces a punt, and then on the first play of the next drive, Ferg gets hurt, grabbing the outside of his knee. There's no injury report yet. We'll see how that pans out. But you got John Stevens right now. He's your backup tight end. He was inactive he's your third tight end. Your backup tight end is Schoonmaker. Schoonmaker, we talked about Schoonmaker in the last show. Hasn't really shown much yet. Really hasn't been given the opportunity to show much, but Stevens is probably your better pass reception tight end. To be honest with you, he's probably your best blocking tight end as well. But hopefully this Ferguson injury isn't bad. The one thing that you saw is that he was grabbing the outside of his knee. If he was grabbing the front of his knee, that would be signs of more like an ACL. This may be something more along the strains of hopefully just a sprained MCL. Hopefully it's not a tear or anything, and it's nothing serious, but we'll find out more probably tomorrow when they get to run an MRI on it. But Cowboys forced the punt again, but the defense holds again, and a great play by DeMarion Overshown. DeMarion Overshown was supposed to be kind of eased into playing. Lufau was supposed to get, a lot of the playing time. I think Lufau started the game. Overshown came in, and I don't think he came out much after that. He's everywhere. And that's something that the Cowboys have not had. Eric Kendricks, everywhere. Those dudes play linebacker the way linebacker is supposed to be played. One thing that the Cowboys did in the offseason that was excellent, and I commend them for that, is they cleaned up their linebacker problems. They cleaned that up, and it showed on the field today, and that was very exciting. Next drive, Cowboys had the ball. They ran the ball exceptionally well, opened up some holes. You can see how they were trying to run the ball to kill some clock. And that's something last year that they couldn't do. They did a pretty decent job of it. Came out, Brandon Arbor hit a 50-yard field goal, make the score 30-10. Cowboys force another 4 and out. They get the ball, 6-play drive, kick a field goal, make the score 33-10. And Diggs ends the next drive with a pick. Cowboys punt it off. Cowboys go down the field. Well, actually, Cleveland goes down the field, hits Deshaun Watson looked better on that last drive, I think, than he looked in the entire game and scored. But if you saw, Cowboys backups were in, giving other players an opportunity to play today, and Cowboys win 33-17. Super duper excited about the win. Larry says this is the best defensive performance in a while. I agree with you, Larry. To me, it started with the defensive line. The defensive tackles, Osi Odigizua, Mozzie Smith, Linval Joseph, Jordan Phillips, they all rotated throughout the game, stayed fresh. You didn't see Mozzie dragging around because he didn't have to play, 5, 6, 8, 10 snaps in a row. They were consistently rotating those defensive tackles out. And it gave Micah Parsons, it gave DeMarcus Lawrence, and it also gave Marshawn Nealon opportunities to kind of roam around, put pressure on the quarterback, try to squeeze everything outside in, try not to let Deshaun Watson break contain. And even when he did break contain, they had Overshown kind of in a spy that would come over and stop it. It's the best defensive performance that I've seen in a while, too. It definitely is. You haven't seen them play defense like that in a long, long time. And that is compliments of Mike Zimmer. That is the difference between having Mike Zimmer as the defensive coordinator and other than I can't even remember his name no more because he coaches for Washington now. Don't care. But it's just a different scheme. Last year, I told you, high risk, high reward is the way the Cowboys have been playing defense for the last 3 or 4 years. We take a lot of chances, but it does turn into a lot of interceptions. You had interception opportunities today. Kalen Carson had an interception go through his hands. Kendricks got an interception. Kalen Carson also had another opportunity later on in the game where ball he dove for it, but it ended up short, and then Diggs gets an interception at the end of the game. These turnovers are going to happen, but these turnovers are happening now because of pressure. Micah Parsons is hard to focus on now. You can't just slide your offensive line over and kind of take him out of games because he's moving around, right? He's having he's been given the opportunity to stand up on the defense. It's just not hand down, get after the quarterback, let's just play football like that. And you can see how that maneuverability and just that moving him around the line, kind of confusing the offensive line. Like the offense is having to stop and just kind of find out like, oh, okay, he's here. He's on the left this time. Oh, okay, he's on the right this time. It's hard on the, especially, and Deshaun Watson is not a bad quarterback. He's not a bad quarterback at all. He looked bad today, though. He did. He did not look well. And you could tell he was getting frustrated. And that's what the defense is supposed to do. It's supposed to frustrate them. The thing I think that made me the happiest today, and just being a Cowboy fan, is the simple fact that the game plan was pretty well thought out. For one, we are going to run the ball. We're going to confuse this defensive line. We're going to try to keep this pass rush kept to a minimum as possible, right? And they did. They struggled at first, right? But Myles Garrett, you're going to struggle against Myles Garrett. Like, that's just something that you're going to do. And then you got a rookie that he's going to line up over, and he's going to rush him hard, and he's going to welcome to the NFL moment. And he answered the call. It took him a minute, but he answered the call. Cleveland had one first down in the first half. They had one first down in the first half. The one thing that the Cowboys are going to have to clean up, and I'm going to say it the whole season until it's over with, is opening the game up slow, right? Clock management, and still try to calm down on these penalties. Cleveland had 10 penalties today, which is bad, right? But Cowboys need to clean up on some of these penalties. There you go. Negative, still disappointed in penalties and struggles to run the ball with the lead in the fourth quarter to end the game. Precisely. The fact that they attempted it today, that lets me know the mindset. Like, at least somebody's in the game. At least the game plan is at least designed around that. In the past, we've had been in games in the fourth quarter with a lead. You may not have a lead like this, but you have a lead where all you need to do is run the ball and clock this thing out. And we can't do it. They gave Rico, they gave Zeke, and they even gave Deuce Vaughn the opportunity to run the ball and end the game, right? I think it was the next to last drive to the game. They ran an excellent reverse play to Brandon Cooks. They had been running to CD Lamb all day, but they ran it to Brandon Cooks, and it just was negated by illegal block in the back by Tyler Guyton, which he got caught in a funny position. He's leaning towards a dude. He's already got to engage. He's attempting to engage. He's got his hands up. He's ready to block, and the safety kind of turned his back to him and kind of lunged towards the runner, which set Tyler Guyton up for the illegal block in the back. Those are the things you have to watch out for. Those are the things that are kind of going to happen in games, especially when the game is moving as fast as football does. You got to watch those penalties. It backed them up, still ended up kicking the field goal, and that made the score 33-10 at that time. But that Brandon Cooks run would have set you up probably first and goal from the 3. Right. The struggle this year, Larry, is, and this is just, we've talked about this. Me and you have talked about this on the phone. We've talked about this, since offseason started, is the Cowboys are going to have an inability to run the ball all season strictly because they don't have the running back that can carry them all season. They don't. Zeke. If Zeke's going to be your bell cow, Zeke 10 carries for 40 yards, that's about what you're going to get. Rico showed some flashes. Rico, I still feel like he should get the ball more, right? I do. And I want to say he ended the game, I think, 8 carries for 37 yards. 8 carries for 26 yards, average 3.3 yards per carry. CD Lamb was your next leading rusher, 3 carries for 25 yards. Brandon Cooks ended up 1 for 5. Deuce Vaughn had 1 carry for 4 yards, which was an explosive run right up the middle. I think you should have maybe tried to sprinkle him in a little bit more. And that's what you had. Dak Prescott had 1 carry for 3 yards. CD Lamb ended with 5 catches for 61 yards. Brandon Cooks ended with 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Jalen Brooks ended up with a catch for 18 yards. Lemke ended up with 2 for 18. Jake Ferguson had 3 for 15. It really seemed like in that third quarter they were going to try to let him hit his stride, but it just unfortunately he got banged up. Like I said, nothing to report yet on that. He did grab the outside of his knee, though, and that's kind of scary. Cleveland Deshaun Watson ended up 24 for 45, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jerome Ford had 12 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown right there at the end of the game. Deshaun Watson ended up 5 for 39 yards, no touchdowns. And Pierre Strong had ended up with 2 carries for 10 yards. Receiving Njoku, 4 carries for 44 yards. He went out with an injury as well. Looked like he kind of tweaked the ankle. Hopefully he'll be able to return soon. Jordan Atkins, 3 carries for 27 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 3 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown. Amari Cooper had 2 catches for 16 yards today. That's their go-to receiver. Kalen Carson did an excellent job on Amari Cooper today. You talk about another welcome to the NFL moment. Your first assignment that you got as a starting corner in the NFL because of injury, because DeRon Bland's going to be out for a couple of weeks. You come in and you draw Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, and they decide they're just going to keep Amari Cooper on you the entire game. That's your assignment for the game, and you hold him to 2 catches for 16 yards. A lot of that had to do with pressure up front, but Kalen Carson played a hell of a game today. I was really, really surprised, and I was really, really, impressed by his performance today as well. Offensive player of the game today for me was probably CeeDee Lamb. We didn't know what kind of CeeDee Lamb to expect. A lot of times when people miss preseason and they miss training camp, they come out, they're kind of sluggish. Takes them a while to get acclimated to the game. Not for CeeDee Lamb. Not him. He came out right away going. Dak played well. Dak did well getting him the ball. Zeke ran the ball well, but he ran the ball well at times, but my player of the game, offensive player of the game for me was CeeDee Lamb. And my defensive player of the game had to be the entire Cowboy defense. Mike Zimmer is my defensive player of the game. Drew up an excellent game plan today. Had everybody flying around, had these linebackers flying around. And that is super duper impressive, especially for the first game of the season. And I think barring injury, I think this Cowboy defense will be the best defense that we've seen in a while. MRI on Ferguson tomorrow. Yeah, Larry, I heard that too. I just hope it's nothing serious. He got up, he started walking off the field. After a while, he didn't even want assistance. He was just walking kind of slow, but he stopped and he kept grabbing the outside of his knee. That kind of tells you that's probably has something to do with the MCL. And hopefully it's maybe just a sprain, not a tear. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. Physicality today as well. As you saw, they were physical, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And that was kind of a refreshing thing to see as well. Haven't played physical football like that in a while. I'm happy. I'm happy that they came out. I'm happy. I thought that they would struggle a little bit more than what they struggled today. I thought the offense would be kind of shaky. That first drive was extremely shaky. But I thought that the offense would be a little shaky because they haven't played. Dak hasn't played all preseason. He came out today. He looked pretty sharp. He made some good decisions. He threw some balls that only where his receiver could catch the ball. It looks like the ball's low and away. It could be a little bit inaccurate. He floated one out to CeeDee Lamb in the second quarter that was a little bit scary. Corner undercut it, and he actually missed it. And the ball actually hit CeeDee in his hands, but it fell incomplete. But that was kind of a scary moment. That all came from pressure. This offensive line will gel. Right. And I believe they will gel sooner than later. I believe this matchup today did wonders just for the mentals for the offensive line. You got these two rookies out here, right? You got the center, Cooper Beebe, who played very well today, especially run blocking. You saw him down the field, and you saw whoever he was engaged with on a couple of times end up on their back. And also for Tyler Guyton, you line up against Myles Garrett week one, man, that's rough, right? And it doesn't get much harder than that. I mean, it doesn't get much harder than that other than Micah Parsons, who you face, every week, unless you face somebody like TJ Watt, which he will here in a couple of weeks. So these welcome to the NFL moments that these guys are getting early in the season, especially the first game, man, it bodes well. I mean, you took Cleveland's crowd out of the game. At the beginning of the game, I was listening. You couldn't hear Dak's cadence. You couldn't hear anything. By the time we were about halfway through the second quarter, you could hear Dak clear as day. And what that does is you could tell that just took the crowd out of the game. And once you can take the crowd out of the game and you guys can communicate and go back and forth and you're not just on this island by yourself, you could see the game start to kind of slow down for Tyler Guyton. You could see the game start to slow down for Cooper Beebe. He did have Dak was trying to get him to snap the ball. I think it was like halfway through the third quarter. Dak was trying to get him to snap the ball. He just really didn't understand what was happening, I guess, with the play clock, and it ended up being a delayed game. But that's kind of the stuff that you're going to have to deal with a rookie center. What's next? Well, you got week 2 against the Saints, who put up 47 points today. It was against Carolina, but they still did put up 46 points. That's next. And you got to go back to the drawing. You have to go back to the drawing board. Don't really Today was a good win. Do not get me wrong. Today was an excellent win. But what you have to do is this is something that has to be repetitive every week. Offense has to get better. Offense has to run the ball better. Offense has to be more efficient, especially in the third and fourth quarters with a lead running the football. You got to find your niche. Maybe that niche is Dalvin Cook. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think Zeke did a terrible job today. I don't think Rico did a terrible job today. I would like to have seen more Deuce Vaughn. But maybe we just didn't get that opportunity. But I think, with the score the way it was, especially like mid-third going into the fourth quarter, I thought it was an excellent opportunity. Just give him a shot, man. Let him go out there. He's explosive. And, Zeke runs with power. Rico ran with power today a little bit, but he's a little bit quicker. But Deuce gives you a little electricity. Excellent return. It was Kevontae Turpin's first punt return for a touchdown today, 60 yards. That was excellent. He dropped a pass coming across the middle, but let's try to sprinkle him into the offense too. This offense, it has the potential to be solid. It does. It has the potential to be very solid. Dak's not going to have to drop back and throw the ball 55 times a game. He's getting paid $60 million. He might have to throw the ball 85 times a game, according to some of you people. But just consistency. And today it was consistent. Nobody played outside of their means. They dealt with an excellent pass rush today and kind of neutralized it, especially towards the end of the third and into the fourth quarter. Dak played pretty clean. He was rushed for a while, and that, especially that first drive, I was a little bit concerned, especially after that hit that he took. Not really the hit concerned me, but the fact that it wasn't like it seemed like we couldn't block it. Adjustments were made. Offensive line got settled in. Rookies got settled in. Everybody got settled in, and they came out, man, and it was promising today. Not writing them off for the Super Bowl yet. I'm not going to say they're going to be the Super Bowl champions. We're going to take this a week at a time. But we're going to work on our chessboard while we're working on this checkerboard too. I think that's the most important thing is this clock management, timely play calls. I think your defensive coordinator, he kind of understands what's going on, especially with this team. He's going to have this team in positions to win football games. But I would like to see more continuity with the offense. And that's not going to come for some time because your offensive line is still relatively new. The biggest positive, especially with this offensive line, and it'll be this way for the remainder of the season, hopefully, barring injury, is that your center is literally surrounded by all-pro guards. He is. Tyler Smith, Zach Martin are both all-pro guards. Your tackle, Tyler Smith can play tackle too. He can always talk to Tyler Guyton and get him in the right position. And you could tell that the communication started to flow and everything started to get better. And the offensive line kind of tried, it started to settle down. Things started to go better for him. And that's the kind of thing that you're going to have to learn from a game like this, and you're going to have to keep that going moving forward. New Orleans looked pretty sharp today. They did. They looked very sharp today. It was against Carolina, but it's an NFL football team. They look sharp. Had Bryce Young rattled. Don't think they can rattle Dak Prescott like that the same way, but New Orleans is going to be another opponent that's going to come into, Cowboy Stadium and play them pretty tough. That's just what they're going to do. So, great win today, 33-17 Cowboys. On to the next. All right. Looks like okay, Derek, I know you got something for me, man. I know you do. We've been messing each other back and forth the whole time. I know you got something for me. Larry came out. Cowboys defense pressured Deshaun Watson 25 times, 6 sacks on 56 dropbacks. That's fantastic. The thing to me is that the movement of Micah Parsons is what's creating this, right? You got both tackles for Cleveland that were out today, but all those pressures didn't come from the outside. Parsons was lining up outside, shooting the A-gap. He'd line up in the middle, drop back in coverage a couple of times. He was coming from the edges. but they were doing a bunch of twists. They were doing a bunch of things just to try to keep him clean, right? He's not a big guy. He's 250, 260 pounds. I think he put on a little bit of weight in the offseason, but he's not 300 pounds. And 300 pounds laying on him the whole game, trying to come around the left end and then getting chipped by a running back where he's chipping you back inside and letting this tackle, 330-pound tackle, just lay on you. That starts to wear on you. This type of defense will allow him to stay clean. So much pressure was on the Cleveland offensive line created by Micah Parsons that it just allowed DeMarcus Lawrence and Marshawn Nealon, like I said earlier, it just allowed them to run free. It allowed them to eat. And there was a lot of times they played excellent complementary football where Parsons would line up on the left, flush him over to the right, and DeMarcus Lawrence would be just sitting there waiting on him. And then on top of that, Eric Kendricks ended the game with 2 sacks. So this kind of complementary defense, especially by your front seven, will allow this secondary, who may not take as many risks as they took last year, but it will allow them the opportunities to have turnovers strictly because the pass rush is so fierce. Micah Parsons was just relentless today, and that's just how he played. And as long as they can keep him healthy and he can keep doing that, this Cowboy defense will be very good. This Cowboy defense will probably carry the team. All right. Well, we'll do this. Let's say, okay, Tuesday, we'll do a Cowboy Saints breakdown. I thank you guys for joining me tonight, by the way. I really appreciate it. Cowboys, we'll do Cowboy Saints. We'll do a little breakdown for them, and then we'll do a pregame Saturday, and then we'll do another post game on Sunday right after the Saints game. I will probably attend that football game, so I'll do the post game as soon as I get home afterwards. I'm looking forward. I'm excited. I did not think that today would go like this, but hey, this is a pleasant surprise. I thought that the game would be a much closer game. I thought today would be a game that was fought in the trenches. The Cowboys overcame some things today, and they played excellent defense. I didn't know what this defense was going to look like. There wasn't much pass rush to begin with in the preseason, but a lot of starters weren't playing. And linebacker play today was tremendous, and it definitely helped out the secondary. If your secondary only has to cover for 2 or 3 seconds, man, that bodes well for you later on. It also bodes well for you being able to stop the run. And the Cowboys, like I said, they haven't been able to do that in the last 10 years, and that just comes with defensive line play and linebacker play. We always have one. We'd have a pretty good defensive line, no linebackers. We have some pretty decent linebackers, no defensive line, even though haven't really had a middle linebacker like Eric Kendricks, probably 15 years. So excellent to see the defensive side of the ball, is particularly the front seven, work the way they work today. And I hope, injuries are going to happen during the season. Hopefully it's nothing that's super significant that'll cause these guys to miss a lot of time. But if the defense can play like this, especially the front seven, I think the Cowboys, I think they'll be all right. All right, man, I'm going to end this one. This was fun. I like this post-game stuff. I like sitting on here talking to you guys. Make sure you guys come and talk to me. One more comment. How did I think it was going to go? I seriously thought that the game was going to be hard fought, drag out. Last drive will decide it. Score probably be 13-10, something like that. I think in my pregame, I think I said that the score would be 17-10, man down. That's what I believe. It didn't happen like that though. Cowboys took advantage of some early mistakes. They were opportunistic. They capitalized on a lot of things today, and that was pretty refreshing to see. All right, guys. Tuesday, I'll be on. We'll preview the Cowboys and Saints. If anything else happens big throughout the week, of course, I'll be on here to let you know. Thank you guys for tuning in to me, man. And you guys have a great night. Watch this Sunday night game. I'm going to enjoy it as well, and get ready for the week. You guys have a great one. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to y'all. Peace.